Well-being refers to a way a person thinks and feels about themselves and others, and the ability to adapt and deal with daily challenges while leading a fulfilling life. A positive sense of well-being enables us to function in society and meet the demands of our personal, social, and professional life. However, when a person lacks the resilience to cope with the demands of daily life, they may become physically and emotionally exhausted, and this is a sign of burnout. Burnout is the result of constant stress that prevents you from functioning effectively on a personal or on a professional level. Some of the causes of burnout from work-related stress include a lack of control, for example, where you feel powerless to influence the decisions that affect your job, such as timetabling or workload. Having unclear job expectations is stressful. For example, being asked to support students with subjects you have little knowledge of, or not knowing a teacher's expectations when supporting their class, or having to deal with situations such as difficult behaviour or some disabilities if you have insufficient information and lack proper training. Conflict at your workplace is unpleasant and stressful. It can arise from people not getting along, being undermined, working with a bully, or a clash of values. Technology has made it too easy to take our work with us wherever we go and keep working out of hours. And this can also create a work-life imbalance. If you drag yourself to work, find yourself getting snappy with co-workers and students, get unexplained headaches or can't sleep at night, you may be experiencing burnout. It can creep up on you, and here are some red flags you should look out for. A lack of energy, where you feel tired most of the day. A lack of motivation, where you've lost the enthusiasm and enjoyment of what you do. Feeling unusually negative and using negative self-talk and developing that half-glass empty attitude. Having problems concentrating, such as becoming forgetful or finding it difficult to focus on tasks and conversations and tuning out at work or at home. Being preoccupied with work and constantly thinking about work or trying to solve work-related problems out of work hours. And of course, not taking care of yourself and maybe using coping strategies such as eating too much junk food, not exercising, drinking too much, smoking, and self-medication. So who's at risk of burnout? Well, people in service jobs, such as teachers and teacher aides, are more likely to experience burnout, as are those who try to be everything to everyone. Many teachers have left the profession because of burnout, and although TAs have different responsibilities, they do work together in the same environment. In Gabby Shroud's book, which you may have read, called Teacher, she talks about the challenges of the teaching profession and why teachers leave. And your contributions in My PLC suggests that the book also resonated with many of you. As there is a lot of information about teacher stress, but very little about TAs, I thought we would begin by looking at some of the key reasons teachers leave their jobs and then compare this to TAs who tend to stay in their jobs for a long time and try and discover why. So recently, the Queensland College of Teachers published an article about teacher well-being. They cited stress from increased workloads, long hours, job insecurity, limited authority, curriculum demands, an emphasis on testing, a lack of mentoring, working in overcrowded classrooms and sometimes disruptive classrooms, as well as a lack of support staff, as some of the reasons teachers are leaving their jobs. I have selected 5 of the stress factors experienced by teachers that we think are the most relevant and would like you to do this poll to tell us which of the following stress factors you believe also affect you in your TA role. Now, you'll be able to tick as many as you choose, and once we've looked at the results, you'll have a chance to have your say in the chat room. And remember, especially for those of you who are new today, polls are anonymous. We only share the results, but we don't know who has said what.
So 43% said an increased workload, 13% said long hours, 70% said job insecurity, 57% said limited authority, and 78% said disruptive classrooms.
That's very interesting, isn't it? So let's talk about those results for a minute. I'd like you to look at that and think about it. And then if you want to make a comment in the chat box about some of the stress factors experienced by teachers that also affect you in your TA role, you could type them in there while we're talking, and Mandy will let us know if there's some comments. So just having a look at your results, the most people, 78%, said that disruptive classrooms were a cause of stress. So it would be great if you could share with everyone, perhaps, and we won't read out your names, so we'll respect your privacy. A lot of you are finding that disruptive classrooms is also a stress factor, just like teachers. And the next highest was job insecurity, which caused a lot of stress. And the third one was limited authority. I found it interesting that 43% said increased workload, so that wasn't a big stress factor, and only 13% said long hours, possibly because many of you work part-time, and that would be perhaps the difference between many teachers and yourselves. I'm not quite sure. Mandy, do we have any feedback in the chat room that we might want to just mention without mentioning anyone's names?
Yes, of course, Stella. We have teachers who don't support us being in their classroom, students being disrespectful, and teachers who don't respect the TAs in the classroom makes it difficult to assist. Rowing in the same direction doesn't seem to happen all the time. Oh, we've got quite a few. We've got quite a few. I'll keep reading, Stella. Teachers
Okay.
who are not on board with what we do and do not share the same goal as us. Disruptive classrooms, especially when we have a CRT. Students are disruptive, rude, and show no respect for teachers, and even more so with teacher aides. Students trying to take control over the situation. Challenging behaviour in the classroom, not backed up by executives. Disruptive classrooms couple up with lack of authority. I feel like a dobber when I come to the teacher about issues I'm not sure how to fix. Some students will not follow instructions as they say, "You're not our teacher." I work in a special school, so a disruptive classroom. Another stress factor, working with high needs students but not supported in how to assist. So that's all we've got at the moment. Oh, hang on. One more. The role of the TA has expanded greatly over the years with limited PD available, long hours that are unpaid, and no ADO given.
Okay, this is really, really interesting. So what you're actually really providing us with here is some real data on the stress of teacher aides that I searched quite extensively, and as you'll see shortly, I found information about other countries, but I struggled to find information about the stresses that affect TAs in Australia. So what you have said is very relevant. A lot of you talked about disruptive classrooms, but many of you also added one that we didn't have there. Perhaps it overlaps a little bit with limited authority, but it was teachers not supporting you, not being on the same page, and that lack of collegiality and cooperation. So that was very interesting.